So you were joining season 2 of Starz hit crime drama BMF.
Yes, yes.
Tell me how you got the role. We got to start there.
Oh, absolutely. Great question. Like many other roles, like for actors, I had an audition. I had a self-tape audition that I recorded in my house. But when I got the script, I got scenes from multiple episodes, is what I found out later. But something about this character of Mabel was just drew me in. She was vivacious, the life of the party, but she had her secrets. She was good friends with Lucille, who plays the wife, and then but friends of the family. And I was like, this character seems a little juicy and different from anything that I've played before. So I auditioned, got a callback, and then I met with the executive producers to just talk more about what the role would entail and require. And we hit it off, and here I am.
Okay, amazing. So we know that BMF is based off of a real story, but some of the characters are blends of real people and so forth. So is Mabel someone that is a real person, or is she an amalgamation of quite a few?
Yeah, I would say she's a mix of quite a few, and something that someone who I could imagine has peeped her head into their lives in some way or another, for sure.
Okay, okay. So tell me a little bit about, I know you've given me some that she's life of the party, that she's friends, but um tell me a little bit more about
Yeah.
Miss Mabel. No spoilers, but we want to know, how does Miss Mabel show up in Charles, is it Charles? The
Yes, Charles.
Charles and Lucille's
Yeah.
life, and it just sort of, where do we see her? Where do we see her in relation to their children? How do they see her? Do they know her?
Yeah. And you'll meet Mabel in the first episode of the new season. And when you meet her, she's again just a staple, one of the neighbors. The kids know her, she's comes over to borrow Lucille's pan all the time, that kind of thing. And so Charles doesn't really pay much attention to her. He's just another one of my wife's friends. But as the season goes on, and again, without giving spoilers, just because I can't, as the season goes on, we're gonna just understand why Mabel is even moved into that neighborhood, what some of her history, how she has, when her secrets do come to light, it has a shattering ripple effect on the entire Flannery family. So it's when I was waiting for the trailer, I was like, of course I'm not in the trailer because I can't be in the trailer. So the fans and the viewers are just gonna have to wait and find out. But this whole season, reading every script is just gonna take you on a nice wild ride, which is fun.
Amazing. Okay, so you mentioned that she's different from the typical role that you've been in before. So when preparing for a role like this, how do you do your research? What do you use as inspiration?
Oh man, I love the backdrop of just the time of the late 80s. I'm coming off of another show from the 80s, Snowfall, where I'm a stripper and a hit woman. So like I'm going from that to this kind of just this, they kind of described her when I was auditioning like a mix between Jackée Harry, Mary on 227 and Willona on Good Times. So if you can imagine that kind of energy of her. So for me, I think about the time. I love to use music to get me in the vibe of a character. I love using hair because I love rocking my balls in my personal life, but I love to transform with wigs and clothes and to explore, how does she feel? What kind of colors does she like? How does she walk? How does she talk? When she enters the room, how do you notice Mabel? So those kind of things are always fun. That creation of character from the ground up is so much fun.
So you'll be on TV twice this later this winter at the same time, which we love that for
Grateful.
you. Beautiful, strong Black women in different types of roles. So again, for you, stepping out in these different sort of roles with women that are coming from different aspects of life, showing off different things, you're not just playing one-dimensional women. What is that like for you? Because sometimes you may not always, for example, with your other show, be in a position where people always love your character. So how do you work through that? And how do you deal with fans, the responses to that, because they're so invested?
Yeah, they are so invested. And like we love it, right? But it's just wild, like you read the Twitter feed and Black Twitter, you're like, oh my gosh. But I think that's all the fun of it. It's about the transformation. And I'm grateful because of, people who came before me, the Cicely Tysons, the Alfre Woodards, the people who showed me that you don't have to be one thing. But I had to understand coming up in Hollywood that I had to control that narrative for myself, that it was my job to show you that I can transform. So, I don't ever worry about being typecast because no, I can do all these different things and my natural essence will draw you to me for certain roles, of course. But I feel like there's an opportunity there to give it my all. And if fans feel that committed and they're like, they can't even see Christine anymore, I'm like, oh, I did my job. I did my job for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the BMF as an entity. They, they were popular. It's a real life situation. How does it feel stepping into a role, and somewhat with Snowfall, but more so with this because it is very targeted specifically to this family? What's it like stepping into a series where these people, these are their real lives?
Yeah, anytime that happens, I feel very honored just to be a part of history. And I'm from New York originally, but I came up in Atlanta. I went to high school here in Atlanta. And so even going to the clubs back in the day, 112s, Kaya, some of the spots that were hot in the early 90s and late 90s, like I remember hearing about BMF. I remember meeting people who were part of that whole situation. So I'm like, gosh, look how life works. And I was partying with some of these people, didn't realize how deep it went. So if I can be a part of, to me, it's like being a part of history. So I'm really honored to be a part of that.
So I was going to ask you if you were familiar with them. So in
Mhm.
a story like this, where parts of it are still moving, it actually involves the son of it. How is your vibe when talking to Meech? What type of insight has he provided? Along with others. I know that Terry is also an executive producer. Do they give you any insight into what it was like to actually experience some parts of this?
Well, it's a little tricky when we're working on TV because you only are in scenes with people when necessary. So I really don't have any scenes I think we had one like dinner table scene, but other than that, we're kind of ship sailing in the night. We see each other in the trailer or on a Zoom table read. So for me, the biggest thing that I look for, even when 50 Cent comes on a table read or our producers come on, just any nugget that they can give on what the tone is and what story we're trying to tell. One of our executive producer and our showrunner, Randy Huggins, is always like, we're going to elevate. We're here to tell this story. We're gonna be grounded. We're going to be true. So I just take those clues to guide me in making sure that the performance I give honors that and what they want to see in the finished product.
Amazing. Okay, so in wrapping up, give me one adjective to describe this season of BMF. Maybe two if you need it.
Uh, like energizing,
Energizing. Okay.
um, magnetic.
Magnetic.
I say magnetic. That's just my word, though. Just in life, I'm always thinking about law of attraction and how we're calling things forth. But when you watch the show, I think this season it's gonna be hard to pull away. It's just gonna keep drawing you in because you're gonna be waiting to see what happens next. It's gonna be a lot of twists and turns. So yeah, those would be the two that I give today. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Christine. I'm excited to see where your character goes this season. It was
It's gonna
amazing.
be juicy. It's gonna be juicy. It's like it's so hard when you can't say much, but the fans will not be disappointed. I'll say that.